We're going to start today with a statistic that, honestly, it genuinely broke my brain.
Oh, I think I know exactly which one you're talking about.
Right. Over the past week, the hashtag BINI_Coachella, which is driven by fans of the Filipino girl group BINI, it reached absolute parity with the official Coachella 2026 hashtag.
Which is just wild to think about.
It really is. They both hit exactly 1.1K mentions in our tracked period.
Yeah.
Like a single group's fan base completely rivaled the digital footprint of an entire multi-million-dollar music festival.
Yeah, it's a massive shift.
It is. So welcome to the deep dive. For you listening right now, we are unpacking a massive stack of analytics surrounding Coachella 2026. We are looking at 110.1 hours of video and audio, promotional posters, social media posts, and news snippets covering just the last 7 days, so April 3rd through the 10th.
And that data includes what, like 16.9K mentions?
No, exactly. 16.9K mentions, 67.5 million impressions, and 7.5 million engagements. And our mission today is to explore this truly fascinating shift. We're basically witnessing the death of the live event as a general gathering of, casual music lovers and watching it get completely hijacked by highly specific artist-led micro-communities and digital fan armies. Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah, to really understand the sheer scale of that BINI statistic, we need to look at the broader numbers from this past week, because there is a crucial distinction to make between those last two numbers you mentioned.
The impressions and engagements.
Exactly. Impressions. That 67.5 million number, that just means something crossed a person's screen, right? A lot of that is just entirely passive.
Right, like me just scrolling past a post while I'm waiting in line for coffee.
Exactly. In fact, the overall sentiment breakdown in the data is roughly 40.4% neutral, which, represents that huge chunk of people just idly scrolling and watching the conversation happen.
Just spectating.
Yeah. But engagements, so the likes, the shares, the targeted tags, those represent active participation. And the positive impressions, sitting at 25.8 million, are actually more than double the 11.4 million negative ones.
Wow. More than double.
Yeah. So the people engaging with this festival aren't casually tossing on a band they kind of enjoy. They are highly organized movements operating with intense, coordinated enthusiasm.
It honestly feels less like a traditional fandom and more like a hostile takeover. But, a very polite, highly organized one.
That's actually a great way to put it.
Right. Because if you look at the Filipino Bloom fan base, which is the recognized name for BIN supporters, they drove nearly 2,000 mentions almost single-handedly.
It's incredible.
And the exact phrase used in the data to describe their operation is military-grade coordination. Like, we aren't talking about teenagers just typing yay in a comment section when they happen to remember the concert is on.
No, not at all.
They're literally setting sequential 5:30 a.m. alarms. They label them Binichella, first attempt, then 5:45 a.m., then 6:40 a.m., just to make absolutely sure they wake up to catch a YouTube live stream in their local time zone.
It's like a political campaign. And that level of mobilization, it creates a massive ripple effect in the broader digital ecosystem.
That for sure.
Like, if you look at the Google search trends for BINI Coachella and Cat's Eye Coachella, Cat's Eye being another highly anticipated global girl group playing this year, they both hit a perfect score of 100.
Wait, 100? That's the absolute maximum, right?
Exactly. That is the metric for absolute peak popularity on Google Trends. They entirely dominated the search landscape.
That is just crazy.
It really is. What we are seeing is that localized, hyper-focused enthusiasm generates vastly more concentrated noise than, general broad-stroke festival marketing ever could.
Right. The traditional billboard on the highway approach is dead.
Yeah. The digital footprint of Coachella 2026 is primarily driven by international viewers who will probably never even set foot in the California desert.
Which is wild to think about.
Yeah, and the strategic takeaway for festival organizers here is profound. You don't even need to market to the general public anymore if you can successfully plug into these existing self-sustaining fan ecosystems.
But wait, getting a global audience to care is one thing. Getting them to wake up, jump online, and scream at their monitors at the exact same minute, that requires massive infrastructure. They need, coordinates.
Oh, absolutely.
And looking at these promotional posters and social media drops in the sources, it's super clear the artists themselves are engineering this anticipation. Like, they aren't putting out traditional concert posters anymore.
Far from it. The visual cues provided by the artists are highly tactical now. Take BINI's posters, for example.
Yeah, I was looking at those.
They don't just say Coachella, they explicitly list the Mojave Stage, and then they list highly specific, localized time zones.
Right. They aren't just giving California time.
Exactly. They broadcast times in PHT for the Philippines, PDT for California, CEST for Central Europe, and JST for Japan.
And Cat's Eye is operating with the exact same playbook. They dropped this striking hot pink promotional poster featuring a stylized sword design. And underneath it, it literally reads like an itinerary of global showtimes.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Like Los Angeles, New York, Brazil, the UK, France, the UAE, India, Thailand, New Zealand. And right at the bottom, they stamp it with the hashtag #Coachella.
It acts as a rallying flag, really, and that flag gets planted firmly in a very specific social media ecosystem.
Right, mostly TikTok and X, yeah.
Yeah, TikTok is leading the sheer engagement volume with 6.2 million engagements, and that is heavily driven by Get Ready With Me or GRWM content, along with festival prep videos.
Even from people who aren't going.
Exactly. But X, formerly Twitter, is the real engine for the tactical execution here. It's utilized for mass tagging and coordinated campaigns.
Yeah, the X campaigns we saw in the data are genuinely wild. There's one specific directive circulating for the hashtag Coachella_BloomsReact. It essentially operates as an instruction manual for fans.
I saw that. It's so specific.
Right. It tells them to post their reactions the moment BNI hits the stage, explicitly asking for their, quote, loudest screams, tears, and most energetic dancing. And they explicitly add bonus extra points for those wearing BNI-inspired fits.
They're completely gamifying the act of being a fan.
Exactly, from thousands of miles away. But I have to push back here for a second, or at least ask the obvious question.
Okay, go for it.
If Cat's Eye or BNI is circulating a poster targeting a fan in Manila or Sydney or the UAE, someone who definitively is not physically traveling to the California desert this weekend, is that poster actually an ad for a concert? Or is it just an ad for a YouTube live stream?
This raises an important question, and it really strikes at the core of the shift we're examining. It is an ad for a live stream, but more accurately, it is an ad for a global, synchronized digital event that just happens to be utilizing a physical stage in California as its broadcast studio.
A broadcast studio. Wow, that totally changes how you look at the whole festival.
Right. We are watching a massive evolution in how live events are consumed. The physical presence of a crowd is becoming entirely secondary. What matters is the visual evidence of the performance, broadcast to the millions who are participating digitally.
Because the physical festival is capped by fire codes and ticket sales.
Exactly. But the digital festival is infinite.
Here's where it gets really interesting. You might assume this digital-first approach is only necessary for international pop groups whose primary fan bases are overseas. But the domestic headliners are fully playing this game too.
Oh, they have to.
They realize they have to curate a very specific, visually distinct world for their fans to step into, whether those fans are physically present or just watching through a screen.
Yeah, Sabrina Carpenter's rollout heading into weekend one is a masterclass in this exact strategy. Her team has deployed a heavily curated, artist-led narrative that completely dominates the surrounding landscape.
The billboards alone are brilliant. There's one simple text-heavy board that just says, "She told you she'd come again." And then there's the Redken billboard, which is this incredibly clever cross-promotion. It reads, "The longer you watch her set, the better it feels." But I mean, the crown jewel of this entire strategy is her physical activation right there on the ground in India.
Ah, yes, the Airbnb pit stop pop-up.
Right. It's a completely themed environment. It has this whole vintage travel or retro gas station aesthetic. We're talking vintage cars, retro gas pumps, everything perfectly tailored to her recent brand identity. But, why build a literal gas station in the middle of the desert?
Well, this represents what we call the physical to digital leap.
The physical to digital leap.
Exactly. Sabrina's team is taking a physical location and explicitly converting it into a digital engagement goldmine. The primary purpose of that physical pop-up isn't to sell gas.
Obviously not.
And it isn't even really to entertain the few thousand people who might physically walk through it over the weekend. It exists solely so that fans, influencers, and brand partners can take highly curated, aesthetically perfect pictures and videos, post them online, and fuel the broader digital narrative.
The physical space operates entirely as a content factory for the internet.
Right. It's a tangible prop for the digital world. The economic incentive there is huge. I mean, Sabrina Carpenter can monetize a digital footprint reaching 20 million people far more effectively than she can monetize 5,000 people walking through a dusty pop-up.
Yeah, the scale isn't even comparable. And we see this exact same prioritization of the screen bleeding right onto the festival stages themselves. Like, look at the electronic artist Anima.
Oh, his set is going to be massive.
Right, but his performance isn't being billed as just a DJ set. It is heavily marketed as Anima Presents Aiden, which is pitched as a world premiere audiovisual live show.
The visual spectacle is the primary selling point.
Exactly. And it's working so well that he's literally the first electronic act to ever headline the main stage.
And that milestone reflects a massive programming shift for the festival at large. Electronic music now makes up an unprecedented 45% of the entire 2026 lineup.
Almost half the festival.
Yeah. They've even introduced a massive new stage called Quasar, which features 3-hour extended sets from legacy artists like David Guetta and Fatboy Slim.
3 hours, wow.
Yeah, and electronic music, with its inherent reliance on massive, synchronized audiovisual drops, lasers, and LED walls, it is inherently designed to look incredible on a screen. It is optimized from the ground up for that physical to digital leap.
So, okay, we've painted a picture of this flawless, hyped up, highly choreographed digital utopia. You've got fans in synchronized outfits crying in the Philippines. You've got Sabrina Carpenter's perfect retro gas station. You got Anima's mind-bending visuals beaming out to the world.
It sounds perfect.
It does. But what happens when you put your phone down, you turn off the live stream, and you actually try to physically attend Coachella in 2026?
Well, the contrast is jarring, to say the least. Behind the digital curtain, there's a bubbling logistics crisis.
It really is the dark side of the hype, because the reality on the ground seems incredibly grim compared to the pristine internet version we've been discussing.
Very grim.
Like Justin Bieber's return to the festival, which the internet has aggressively dubbed Bieberchella, has generated the highest ticket demand in Coachella history. It is causing absolute chaos. But the fans who actually bought those tickets and traveled to the desert are facing a literal nightmare.
The friction really starts with the cost of entry. I mean, general admission is now sitting at $649.
$649.
Yeah. To put that in perspective, that is a 51% increase from what they were charging in 2018.
That's a massive jump.
It is. And the sentiment surrounding that price hike is incredibly bitter. Critics are openly arguing that fans are paying a massive premium for what they consider a less compelling lineup overall. I mean, despite Bieber's obvious star power and the heavy international draw.
Right. And paying the $649 just gets you through the gates.
Yeah.
You still have to figure out where to sleep.
Which is a whole other disaster.
Yeah, the U.S. Sun reported on rampant Airbnb price gouging in the surrounding towns. We aren't talking about, like, expensive luxury villas. We are talking about locals renting out literally their laundry rooms for over $1,000 a night.
$1,000 for a laundry room.
Yes. And this creates a severe reputational risk on the ground because you have these niche, highly dedicated communities like the TikTok and X group, known as the Bieber Fever Gals, who are highly active online, but their current engagement is entirely driven by sheer frustration.
Right, because they can't even get there.
Exactly. They are dealing with last-minute accommodation cancellations, exorbitant fees, and just endless logistical hurdles just to see their favorite artists.
It's just a total mess.
It makes me think of a massive Hollywood movie set. You know, if you were looking directly through the lens of the camera, or in this case through a carefully curated TikTok stream or the official 4K YouTube broadcast, everything looks beautiful, glamorous, and perfectly lit.
Everyone hits their marks.
Exactly. But if you step 2 feet to the left, behind the scenes, it is chaotic, incredibly expensive, and held together by duct tape and stressed-out crew members.
That perfectly synthesizes the core contradiction of 2026. The festival is suffering real, tangible damage on the ground. The physical infrastructure and logistics are strained to the absolute breaking point, and the people paying the absolute highest physical costs are, in many cases, having a miserable experience.
Yeah.
Yet simultaneously, because of these hyper-targeted global fan communities executing with that military precision we talked about, the festival is experiencing unprecedented success, reach, and cultural dominance online.
So the physical reality is buckling under the immense weight of the digital hype. It's like the digital footprint is completely detached from the physical event.
The event is now just the raw material. The real product is the content generated from it.
Wow. So what does this all mean for you listening to this right now? If we distill the core takeaways from this massive pile of data, The most important thing to realize is that the modern festival is no longer a single monolithic gathering. It just isn't.
Not anymore.
It is 100 different micro-events, carefully tailored by individual artists and weaponized by global fan bases. The great dichotomy of 2026 is that you can have a deeply frustrating, miserable time paying $649 for a wristband and sleeping next to a washing machine in Indio. Or you can have arguably the best weekend of your life wearing a coordinated outfit, crying, and watching a YouTube stream for free with your online community in the Philippines.
The incentives have entirely shifted. If an artist wants to guarantee their relevance today, they don't really need the 100,000 people in the desert to have a seamless logistical experience.
Oh, we go.
They need the 10 million people watching from home to feel like they're part of an exclusive global club.
And the reason you should care about this, even if you have zero interest in music festivals, pop groups, or DJ sets, is because this right here is the blueprint for the future of marketing and community building.
100%.
If you want to build hype for a product launch, a corporate event, or a new idea, you shouldn't aim for the general public anymore. The general public is passive, right? They provide neutral impressions.
Yeah.
You need to empower a localized, passionate micro-community. You need to give them the tools, the specific hashtags in the exact global time zones, and just let them do the heavy lifting for you.
You build the arena, provide the visual cues, and then get out of the way while the fan army conquers the digital landscape.
Exactly. But it does leave us with a slightly unsettling final thought to mull over.
Oh, what's that?
If the digital footprint, which is driven entirely by fans halfway across the world watching a glowing screen, if that is proving to be vastly more valuable, more organized, and more culturally relevant than the physical footprint in the actual desert, how long until music festivals stop needing a physical audience altogether?
That's a great question.
Right. How long until these massive desert events simply become giant, empty sound stages built purely to feed the internet?
I mean, if the physical crowd is ultimately just a background prop for the digital broadcast, eventually organizers might realize they don't need to sell tickets to the prop at all.
We might just be looking at a mirage after all. A beautifully curated, heavily hashtagged mirage broadcast live from a very expensive movie set in the desert. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.